Are you starting an e-learning project and you're not sure which way to piece it together? It seems like you should start with a storyboard, but you kind of feel like it's a waste of time. Well, friends, in today's video, I'm going to break down the difference between a storyboard and a prototype for your next e-learning project. Hi friends, my name is Vanessa Alzate. I am the founder and CEO of Anchored Training, and on this channel, I help aspiring instructional designers and e-learning developers get off of the sidelines and get into the L&D game. And so let's just get to the chase, keep it straight and simple. This is the difference that I see between a storyboard and a prototype. So a storyboard is going to give you the entire outline. It's the blueprint. It's your roadmap for your e-learning content. A prototype is going to be somewhere in between that storyboard and the final product. So it's kind of like that small model that gets made of a house. So you could see the way that it's going to look. You could interact with it, but it's obviously not to scale. And so that's just my quick synopsis of the difference between a storyboard and a prototype. Now, both have their pros and their cons, and I've actually worked with both. So let me give you some feedback and some tips on the difference between both and what I think each of them are appropriate. So let's start with storyboards. Storyboards are the most common form of beginning of development of e-learning modules. You will see more people storyboard necessarily than prototype. Storyboards can be created in various tools, but the most common are Word or PowerPoint. And the reason for that is that it makes it very easy to just kind of plan out how everything is going to interact. So in your storyboard, you'll have a place where you'll enter in your audio script. You'll also have a place where you enter in any visuals. So what is it that the learner is going to see on the screen? Then you'll have any annotations or notes about how the learner is supposed to interact. You won't be able to obviously interact with this Word or this PowerPoint document, but it is a description of what the interaction would look like. And then I've seen this done in two different ways, and I've actually done this in two different ways. So on some storyboards, I don't even include any visual screenshots, especially when it's a software system. I'm not going to step-by-step take a screenshot of every single thing. For me, that was always a waste of time, and it was definitely adding in hours that didn't necessarily have to be there. But in other modules, I've actually done step-by-step screenshots or some sort of description of what the on-screen would look like. So it really just depends on what I'm working on and which tool I'm using, which template I'm using. So the nice thing about storyboards is that you can develop them rather quickly. And especially if you're not worrying so much about the actual visual and getting all of the UI, UX elements all into place, you can really just focus on the content. And so that has been a really great advantage for utilizing a storyboard. The other nice thing is that anyone that works in instructional design for e-learning projects can work on a storyboard. So you don't necessarily have to be a developer and know the ins and the outs of the authoring tool. You just need to be able to relay the information to the developer of what interaction or what it is that you're looking for the authoring tool to do. So that really helps when you have a lot of projects and you can dedicate one person to designing the storyboards and then someone else to even a team of people to actually develop the actual modules. So I've worked with a lot of agencies in that way. So I would be one person on the team and I would either be developing the storyboard or developing the module, just depended on what they needed at the time. But I would be doing one piece of that and passing it off to someone else. So that's really a nice thing when you're trying to work faster and when you're trying to put all the best people in all of the roles, you're able to work in that manner. And storyboards really help to facilitate that going a little bit faster. So prototypes can be created directly in an authoring tool. So I've done a lot of prototyping in Articulate Storyline 360. That's what a lot of my clients are using right now. Another tool you can use to create a prototype is Adobe XD. So remember, prototypes are a little bit more than a storyboard and not your final deliverable. So it's not perfect, but it's kind of that somewhere in between where they're seeing more than just a sketch or an idea, and they're seeing how things are going to interact. They're actually able to click buttons. They're able to pop open layers. They're able to interact with the module. So prototypes mean that you can go straight into development and start hashing out some of the look and the feel and the interactivity for your module. So personally, you'll see me sharing more prototypes with my customers now because I've just found that customers really understand what they're looking at and they are able to give more thoughtful feedback if they're looking at more of a visual. I used to develop a lot of e-learning and we would just provide a word storyboard and I would end up redoing so much of the module when we got an approved storyboard and we got to development. And that would really add a lot of time and a lot of money because we would outsource audio, which meant a lot of the audio would have to change and it'd have to go back out for recording. So it really just started to add time and time. So for me, I really moved more into a more prototype type phase. That being said, I don't actually really develop many prototypes without developing a storyboard first. Hear me out here. For me and my business and the way that we work, we have different team members that work on different pieces of the project. So I have a storyboard writer, an instructional designer, write a storyboard. It's not, fancy. There's no real graphics or visual, and they pass it over to a developer. And the developer will then take that storyboard and they'll actually prototype it. And our client never sees the storyboard. Our clients only see the prototypes. And so the reason, again, for that, for us, is that way we can work faster. We can have something that's pretty solid developed in the storyboard format, and then we can pass it over to our developer, and we are able to provide our customers something that feels better, feels more whole and put together. The other thing, and this may be like the crazy woman in me, but I always love to have storyboards for anything that I put out there, any deliverable, because if anything happens to a file, aka articulate storyline file goes corrupt, and I don't have a backup, well, that storyboard can be that backup and I'm able to recreate that module because I have that storyboard. So I really actually like working with both. So from a development standpoint, I start with the storyboard and then I'll prototype. If I really know the content really well, so we work with my sorority to create a lot of their e-learning modules. I know that content in and out. So if I were to create a module for them, I would just kind of dive right into storyline and start to develop content. That said, there's always some sort of sketch or something, because I do find that when you're prototyping and you're just staring at a blank screen, that can be kind of a lot for a instructional designer, and it's almost too much of an open-ended space. So at the very least, you'll see me in my notebook that I keep next to me at all times. I'll even draw boxes and I'll have some sort of words or some sort of sketch of what I think I want to start with, and that helps to put me into the flow when I start prototyping. But with my bigger projects for really big customers, we start with a storyboard that's developed by an instructional designer who really understands the content and understands the end goals and has done that knowledge transfer with that subject matter expert, and that gets passed over for a prototype for our customer to review. They just understand it better. They just really, the amount of redos, the amount of throwing things out the window has gone down significantly because they're able to see that prototype. That said, here is one way that you can help foolproof your prototype development. Some of the things that we do is we have a proof of concept or a design approval. So before we go into a lot of our development, our customers approve some sort of template, look, and feel. This way, when they see the module for the first time, they're not so focused on the colors or the font and things like that. We've all done that in the design phase. We're really focused now on the actual content. The other thing that we do is that when we're in the knowledge transfer meetings with our subject matter experts, we really dive into the examples. So I love to ask, tell me about, the day in the life. Give me some examples of some typical scenarios that your learner will walk through. If they're going into this knowledge hub, what do they typically search for? Give me some key search terms, things that are realistic. And then I will take those things and I will put them in the module. And ever since I started doing that, it really has helped with the prototype phase. And you'll be surprised. In the past, there have been people that other instructional designers that I've worked with that don't do that. They kind of make things up as they go. I don't want to say make things up. They guess as they go along. And then you'll have a customer say, we can't use that information, or we can't use that file type, or we can't display that product. So getting all that information really does help the prototype phase and kind of helps to speed it up. So it does feel like you're gathering a lot of information in the beginning, and you are, but it really does save you on the back end. And the other tip I have for you when you are showcasing a prototype is make sure you're telling your customer what it is that they are going to be reviewing at that phase. Sometimes customers get so hung up on the look and the feel, or if there's like a highlight on the screen, it needs to move over a millimeter. In the very beginning, I don't need that kind of information. Don't worry about the exact placement. Things will be cleaned up and really tidied up. What I want you to really focus on is, the interaction, is the experience, but also the content, the voiceover. Is this meeting the goals that we set out in our project charter or our statement of work? And that is what you should be focusing on, let's say round 1. And then on round 2, we're gonna do, this is the round before we go and record voiceover. We really wanna dive into making sure that the voiceover is really tight and we've really taken the time to run through that. So you'll want to set up those parameters and those expectations. So what I like to do is in my project kickoff, I review, okay, these are the different review cycles that you have. These are the types of things that you're going to be looking for. Don't worry about this, worry about X, Y, and Z. Then when I provide the deliverable, I don't always just set it and forget it. I schedule a quick 15-minute meeting and I say, hey, so I just want to run through this prototype. Here's how you're going to review it. Again, don't worry about X, Y, and Z. That will get cleaned up in this round or that round. Worry about A, B, and C. And this is how you leave comments in the annotation tool. Those are the things that help to set up the expectations so they don't waste their time on things that highlight might not even be there, because they'll say, you know what, you could actually scrap this whole section. So that saves them from providing you with feedback on something that isn't even going to be used in the end module. So in all of this, I have one little bonus tip for you. I know I just talked about how much I'm moving to storyboarding, but when I'm creating a video, let's say an explainer video or some sort of scenario-based video, I don't actually prototype that. That the customer will see a storyboard, and that's typically a PowerPoint storyboard. Reason for that is because the audio really impacts how things interact or how things move or when things come in, when things come out. So if we add or remove audio, you have to change everything that comes after it. That's kind of a waste of time. So what I like to do when I do a storyboard is use as a PowerPoint template where I put either an image of something that will replicate, or maybe the main character they'll have already approved, in the design phase, and just and some words about what they should be expecting on the screen. And this is the audio that they'll also be hearing at the same time. And I like to showcase that for our customers. Reason for that, like I said, you don't have to worry about creating a prototype and then you have to change all the timings. It really does add a lot of time when you have to do that. So the customer, they get some sort of visual. This is really kind of that minimal viable product. So they get to see that visual, they get to read the audio script, and then once they approve that, that's when we move into, whatever authoring tool we're using to develop that video. So that's my tip for you. Storyboards and prototypes are really specific for you. And what is going to work best for you is going to vary by project and sometimes where you are in your career, how much experience do you have, and the type of project that you're working on. So I want you to first take some time to really understand how to put together a storyboard, because really the crux for everything is that you really do need to know how to storyboard in order to get to the phase where you could just look at the articulate storyline slide and start putting things together. So start with focusing on getting down that storyboard path, so then you can move over to the prototype phase. I find that definitely helps get you up to speed a lot faster. Want more help managing clients and SMEs? Then check out this video that I'm linking next that goes over all of my project management tips for instructional designers. Friends, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.